Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Season 3 of Sliders, the rundown, the re-upload. Season 3 of Sliders is a very strange season. It's bizarre. It's not as bad as that god-awful Season 5, but it's not as good as Season 1, 2, and 4. Season 3 is what I like to call an anomaly. It's an anomaly wrapped in an enigma. It's just a strange mystery of why. Why did Fox go down this route? See, after canceling the show in season 1, they decided that they were going to bring it back because the fans wanted it back. And then they saw what a hot commodity it was. So they gave it a 26 episode arc in season 3. But they changed the format. They wanted a more action-packed, sexualized show. Why? Lord have mercy, I have no idea. But that's the route they went. And so the show got some major changes. It lost 2 of its stars and it lost 2 of its creators. And for the most part, the show went down this weird path of introducing more horror and sci-fi in the show. Horror in the terms of they basically copied horror movies and sci-fi action movies, and then they blended it into this show. It was strange, it was bizarre, and it took away from the premise of what the show originally was. And it left many viewers with a bad taste in their mouth to the point where they just wasn't tuning in. And then of course it got canceled and then picked up by the sci-fi show. But yes, they fired 3 of their main people and 1 of their main people quit. This show in the 3rd season got a major facelift. It saw 3 firings and 1 star quitting. The people who got fired was the 2 creators of the show. Yes, they fired the 2 creators of the show. And then they replaced him with, I'm probably gonna butcher his name, David Peckinpah or Peckinpah. I don't know how to say it, but he plowed this entire season. But you know, to give this dude credit, in all my past videos, I've never bashed the dude. Like, there's been other creators I have bashed on like other shows, but this dude I've never like bashed because of one reason and one reason only. The dude's dead. Yeah, like he's dead. I don't know exactly how he died, but he's dead. And so out of respect, not so much for him because he did help ruin Sliders, but out of respect of his family, you know what I'm saying? Because back when I was younger, when I say younger, I mean like an early adult, like in my 20s and stuff like that, when I started researching this show, it's like, you know, I didn't know much about TV and how it works with networks and executive producers and showrunners and this and that. But like, you know, for the most part, when a show or movie ends up being bad, it's not necessarily the director's fault or the showrunner's fault, because the network likes to put their little stanky little toes all up in like something, you know? And then you have the president of that studio who also likes to put their little toes and stuff. And then it's just like, and then of course you have the fans who put their toes in the stuff. And then so then the showrunners try to like meet everybody's demands, and it doesn't always work out that well. A prime example of this is the dude who directed Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher. For so long, so many people like myself used to like really hate this dude, but then we learned the truth. It wasn't even entirely his fault. It was the fault of McDonald's, Warner Brothers Studios, DC, Bob Kane, and to some slight teeny tiny degree, Tim Burton. Only Tim Burton, because he did eventually make Batman Return just a little too dark and gruesome from some fans, that where it kind of like scared little kids. I remember when I was a little kid watching it, I could not watch the scene where the penguin like bites somebody's nose and blood squirts out everywhere, and the scene where the cats are licking Catwoman's fingers, resurrecting her. I just couldn't do that as a kid, but I still loved the movie nevertheless. But there were some kids who literally went on talk shows and complained about it, and that's what happened when Joel took over. Now Joel try not to go too much into the Batman whole thing, but Joel is a good director. He is dead too. But he was placed in director's jail after Batman and Robin. Now, with Batman Forever, not that bad, but not that great. But like I said before, the studio pressured him big time. The reason why everything was so colorful and lit is because of how dark the other two movies were. And then while everything started looking goofy with like the costumes and like the vehicles, that was because they were trying to sell toys. So they literally sent in Mattel to help design the Batmobiles and like some of the suits and stuff like that. So it wasn't entirely Joel's fault. So, then people should really forgive that dude, because he was never able to get out of director's jail. They never gave him another big movie. And for the most part, there's a lot of deleted scenes. It's kind of like the Snyder's Cut. It's a lot of deleted scenes of Batman Forever that are actually dark and actually thought-provoking. And there will never be a director's cut, sadly. And that footage is still around, but Warner Brothers is keeping it tight-lipped and stuff. You know how they do. So I don't necessarily blame David all that much, but because in the fourth season, like I said before, it went to Sci-Fi, and he was still the showrunner for the fourth and fifth season, like he was in the third. And in the fourth season, he actually redeemed himself. But then that's probably because Jerry O'Connell became an executive producer, and when you're an executive producer, you have some weight to throw around. So Jerry probably said, hey, look, man, this ain't gonna fly. This is not what Sliders is about, and we need to keep it for the fans. But then Jerry left at the fifth season, and even though he was still labeled as an executive producer, he went off to make movies. So he didn't really have no creative process. And that's, of course, when the season went crappy again. So for the most part, yeah, David is to blame to a certain degree, but you gotta remember Fox is also to blame for a certain degree, and even Sci-Fi is to blame for the fifth season because they didn't even check the scripts, and it's been reported. Like, one reason why this season 5 was so bad is because they literally let David and the other people do whatever they wanted, and they never checked anything. Now, the other firing is, of course, the actor who plays the professor. Now, his name is either one or two things. I keep forgetting it. It's either John Rhys-Davies or it's John Davy Ray. I think it's John Rhys-Davies, I think. I don't know. I can't remember. It's one of those two. I keep getting it confused and stuff. But yeah, he got fired. And he got fired because, well, John has a big mouth. This has been reported several times, even by the actors of Sliders. He loved the show and thought the show had so much great potential. And when the show started getting stupid, literally what Jerry said, he would pound his fist on the table doing a script read and tell literally the showrunners and stuff, this show is good, y'all are ruining it, and this and that. So he was very passionate about this show. But like I said before, he does have a big mouth. His mouth does tend to get him in a lot of trouble. Even till this day, his mouth still gets him into a lot of trouble. But yeah, sadly, he was fired. And the way he got fired, because people thought he quit, but he didn't. And the way he got fired, it's never truly been explained. He's never said how, and none of the other stars have. Harold, there's an article online, and you take the article with a grain of salt, where they interviewed the actor who plays Rembrandt. Like I said before, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know if this article is real or not, but supposedly halfway into the third season, when they was filming the Paradise Lost episode, he overheard that they were bringing in a new female on the show, the Maggie Beckett character. And he assumed Sabrina was getting fired. Sabrina plays Wade. And so he told her. She got upset. Supposedly she cried. And supposedly she got really, really, really upset. But then later on that night when they was on the cliff hanging out, it was like a beach resort type thing, he found out it was him. So yeah. And then the person who quit was Sabrina, the actress who plays Wade. Tensions between her and Kari, the actress who plays Maggie Beckett, was basically life imitating art, art imitating life. When you watch the third season, you see how much heat that Wade and Maggie had, that's pretty much how much heat that Sabrina and Kari had. Like they hated each other because supposedly, and I think she's even admitted to this, that Kari was a bully and everything to Sabrina. It was kind of one of those things that was where, like, I guess like women don't like other women and they see competition. And she had like a very high spirited personality. So she would constantly like berate Sabrina, supposedly, allegedly, and stuff. But has been proven, but you still have to say allegedly and everything. And so like it got to the point where it just really upset her. But she was willing to stick it through to season 4 until she realized something. She wanted to get paid the same amount of money also as like the male stars. They said no. So then she, and of course, ended up leaving. Because in the 5th season, she was supposed to have an episode dedicated to her, and she did. She wanted the same amount of money as the actor who plays Rembrandt, but they said no. And she deserved it because she was on the show, you know what I'm saying? But they said no, and she didn't do it. She just did like a voiceover and had a stand in. And so with money disputes and like her not getting along with another star on the show, because the Maggie Beckett character lasted all the way into the 5th season to the finale and stuff, and the series finale. So she just decided, hey, I'm out. And she left. And then later on, she left the country. Because now she lives in Africa. Now, with the 3rd season, Fox also decided that with the whole action-packed sex appeal season, that nothing really in the past seasons really mattered all that much, but it mattered just a little. Also, once again, they played the episodes out of order because the first episode was supposed to be the episode where they meet Logan St. Clair, which is Quinn's female double, which is a really interesting concept. But they decided that wasn't that much of an action-packed episode. So then they did the one, I think it's called Deadly Games, which is like a reality show where people actually die. And because that had way more action. And so it started to confuse people a little bit because we learned something really interesting in the Logan St. Clair episode when it comes to the timer, because it's been altered a little. To where now, not only do they go to San Francisco, but now they're able to go to LA because they switched some kind of component in the timers. Because there's 2 timers. There's Logan when she was sliding because of her nefarious reasons and stuff like that. Also because of the whole sex appeal thing, they felt the Logan St. Clair character was not sexy enough. See, like I said before, she's the female version of Quinn. And he doesn't find that out until halfway into the series towards the end after he kisses her and stuff. So basically he kissed himself. And so on that world, she dupes them. Because their world is, they're running out of resources and stuff. And they have to have tons of brownouts. A brownout is not like a blackout where everything's completely out. They have to like shut certain things down at a certain period of time and then shut it back on to conserve like energy and stuff. And so like, because of that, they also have to eat this weird type of food that's like green. It's called like geomash and like all kind of stuff because they just run out of resources. They have way too many people. It's kind of like the reverse of Luck of the Draw episode. And so the professor of that world, he created sliding. And Logan was his assistant. And also he was having, I think they said he was having an affair with her or something like that. Because he was also married and having an affair, supposedly and stuff. And so like he ended up dying on that world because Logan ended up murdering him because their sliding equipment is not working out so well. Basically, what goes in does not come out the same way. You go in human, you come out like a big giant rock of ash and everything. Like it burns you alive. And she murdered him because he found out what she was gonna do. She planned on going to other worlds and stealing all their resources and stuff. So when he found out, she murdered him. So she duped them for the entire season, and then she ended up having Wade kidnapped. And then Wade's double took over for like a short period of time, but the Sliders found out she was a double. So after some shenanigans and Quinn helping her with her timer and stuff, she has the ability to track sliding portals or sliding tunnels and everything. So after all that, she tries to kill Wade, but the vortex ends up sucking the bullet in and sucking her in too. And Quinn is now, and everybody's now worried because she has the ability to track where they go. But she never, ever, ever, ever shows back up in the entire series because Fox felt she wasn't sexy enough. Now, the woman who played this is very beautiful. I don't know what the world they're talking about, but they basically wanted like a big boob, long leg, like supermodel type looking woman and stuff. And so, because of that, they never brought her back. And they did think about bringing back in the 5th season, but they never did. Now, with the whole action sex appeal, my God, they went overboard with that. You will constantly see bodybuilders in this show being like security guards, but wearing like these extremely tight shirt outfits, these extremely tight shorts. You will constantly see what really made no sense were like doctors, female doctors, scientists, wearing the shortest, tightest skirt possible. And like, with and they would have like a large chest and the shirt sometimes would be unbuttoned. And some of these women would be like really famous, like stars and everything. And it's like, they just went overboard with it. And then of course, they really went overboard with the Maggie character because Kari at that time used to have like fake breasts and everything, and they were really huge. And the show made every attempt to flaunt that, like every attempt possible, having her wear all these like tank tops and stuff like that. And then they decided to bring it back in the 4th season, even though Fox didn't own it, by having her walk around in a bra for about 15 seconds or so. And so, yeah. Now, speaking of the Maggie character, a lot of people don't like her. I particularly do not like her in the 3rd season only. I like her in the 4th, but I don't like her in the 3rd. In the 3rd, she was a raging you-know-what. She wasn't just mean to like Wade, she was mean to the other sliders as well. She was in the Air Force. She was really tough. She leaped before she looked. She had a husband who was paraplegic, but then she has an affair on him with a dude named Rickman. And then she tries to have an affair with Quinn. And so that was just really bizarre because that's not who Quinn is, And so they meet her when her world is about to be destroyed by post stars. And on that world, they have sliding equipment. And they're trying to get everybody out. But Rickman, who I'll get to later, he was a major bad dude. And he needed to slide to go to other worlds to keep himself alive. But I'll get to him later. So anyway, this is the episode where Quinn actually makes it back home to Earth Prime because they're sliding around looking for new worlds to put the people of Maggie world on. And so he makes it back home. He sees his mom, but Maggie, for some reason, can't breathe on his world. Their lungs are different. So he slides them out of there. And something else I will get into a little bit later. And so this caused a conflict with the other sliders because they're like, hey, let's go back home. And he said, no, we have to like help these people. But long story short, Rickman ends up murdering the professor. And the entire season, they now go looking for Rickman to try to stop him. Here we go with Rickman. Rickman, sliders, well, not so much their first villain, because the Chromats were the first villains, but he's their first recurring villain throughout the entire season. Yeah, they wanted a villain to make with the action-packed show. Rickman was a military officer, a high-ranking one at that. Now, he's played by 2 different actors. The first actor was like this rock and roll singer who Adrian Paul, the Highlander, actually really like appreciates. That's like one of his favorite guest stars on the Highlander show. And because I'm not at the computer right now, I can't look up his name and I can't look up the second actor's name. But because the rock and roll dude is like, well, rock and roll, he couldn't make the show every week. So they had to get in a new actor. And both actors have a completely different personality. They both play them very well, but they do play them slightly different. And so Rickman, when he was like fighting in a war, he got a parasite. And the parasite literally eats away at his brain. It's killing him. The only way to like live and keep on living, he has to use the brain fluid of like other people and inject it into the back of his head. Now, what got really weird when he did that was that his face would literally morph into somebody else. So he could, but it only morphed for like a short period in time. And so he would use that ability to like, kill certain people, which was really weird. They never explained that. Like he even takes the brain fluid of like a woman. And so does his breasts, like did he also get like breasts and lose his penis and stuff? I don't know. It's never really truly explained, but it's just a weird concept because this was when it was going a little bit more sci-fi also. And so like he was trying his best to get off that world, trying to perfect their sliding, because Maggie's husband was the one who created sliding, but they couldn't get that last piece of the puzzle to fix it. So that's when Quinn and their people come in, and so he has Quinn work on the timer, and then he has Maggie and Quinn go to different worlds and check them out. And so for the professor, he helps out too a little bit with the timer, and we actually get to see the inside of the timer, which is really cool. And so like, what's his name, Rembrandt, he's pretty much just like wandering around, and he meets this young kid and they have like a really good bond because his parents were murdered by like Rickman and stuff. And so the little kid, he finds out what Rickman is doing, so Rickman of course tries to kill the little kid. And then as for Wade, Rickman has her pretty much make a list of all the people he wants to slide and to cut off the list because not everybody on that planet is going to be able to slide. And it's not even the high ranking officials who rule that like country. It's mainly just people who have the same DNA or similar DNA to him, like blood and stuff. And so that's his plan. He's not planning on sliding with like scientists, doctors, leaders. He plans on going to that world with mainly a bunch of people who can keep him like living. And of course, when he takes this brain fluid from them, they end up dying. So after he shoots Maggie's husband, Maggie is extremely bent on like finding him, stopping him, and murdering him. But like I said before, he also ends up shooting the professor because this is the episode where it's John's last episode. And so like, this doesn't make no sense. Now, we've seen that if you shoot a bullet at somebody, when the vortex is behind you or whatever, the vortex sucks the bullet in. We saw that with Logan St. Clair. But this time, when the professor got shot and the vortex was going on, it just went into him like really fast. So that didn't make no sense. There's a continuity issue with that. And so the professor dies, and it's a touching little scene that they quickly have, but they have to slide to another world and try to stop Rickman. And so Quinn, he's adamant on stopping Rickman too. So this causes conflict with the rest of the sliders because they ask him pretty much what are they going to do when they capture this man? Are they going to let Maggie kill him, or are they can't imprison him because they can't stay on that world and he might escape? So what are they going to do with him? And basically Quinn's just kind of like, this dude has to be stopped at all costs. Now we're going to get into the character development. Now, if this season is good for anything, it is the character development. My God, tensions are high with the sliders. Basically, they're now just going through the motions. They think they'll never get back home. This is their third year sliding. And it's to the point where they don't even really talk about trying to get home anymore. They're just going through the motions and just living life now. But deep down inside, their emotions are running high to the point where two of the sliders, Wade and Rembrandt, they're really, really, really pissed off at Quinn this season because Quinn's actions are not the actions of Quinn that we know from season 1 and 2. He's no longer thinking with his brain, but he's thinking with his shillelagh. And so, like, he's only thinking with his lower part of his body because of Maggie. He has a huge crush on Maggie to where he will literally follow her into like the battlefield, into death and everything. He's not thinking like the Quinn that he used to think like. And this is really causing conflict between him and Wade and Rembrandt. The professor, on this other hand, he is dying. So he's kind of like having a midlife crisis. Yeah, they were really trying to get rid of John in this season. They were either going to kill him with a disease or they were going to kill him. And so, like, basically it's like this. Him and Rembrandt. Now, in the first season, him and Rembrandt were, Rembrandt was a bit touchy with him because Rembrandt was all innocent in this whole thing. He got sucked into this whole thing. And so he always blamed Quinn for this for the first couple of episodes. After that, he just stopped. And then in the second season, he doesn't blame him no more. Now coming the third season. In the third season, Rembrandt is still going through the motions, but Rembrandt now is starting to have feelings for Wade. They're trying to ship those two, the creators of the show. And it just doesn't really work because it's kind of like Rembrandt is a player. The dude, when he slides, he loves messing with the females. So it's kind of weird to see him wanting to settle down with a person. And he sees that Quinn is no longer interested in Wade because now Quinn is interested in every other female he sees and Maggie. So Rembrandt is kind of like going in. I guess I can kind of understand that because he is lonely and it is character development. But it is kind of weird because now he does consider Quinn as his friend. So why would he kind of try to get with the woman that Quinn also used to have a crush on and stuff like that? So at some point he does crush on her, like I said. And even to the point where he's under a spell and he's confessing to her. But then when he confesses his love for her, it's kind of like in a weird kind of way. Now, she doesn't share these same feelings because when he is under that spell and he's in love with her, it gets on her nerves. Until he confesses to her why he feels the way he does. And she has a moment when she kind of just like looks at him with kind of like Google eyes because she's kind of realizing, hey, this dude really does have feelings for me. He's not just that player that I've known for 2 years and stuff. But their relationship goes absolutely nowhere after the professor dies. But yeah, for him and Quinn are just like in a real tight spot this season to where it's just that Rembrandt is just constantly frustrated and Quinn is getting frustrated as well. Like, what was it? It was one episode before that. Okay, it was the Christmas episode where Rembrandt was kind of like brainwashed and he was buying gifts for a bunch of people. And Quinn's all like, oh, hey, man, you don't have to do all this. And he's all like, look, man, you don't tell me what I can do. Like, I want to make my friends happy and stuff. Now, he was brainwashed, but it was also him, his personality coming out as being brainwashed. He feels that Rembrandt feels like he doesn't contribute to the group because he knows he doesn't. He used to party all the time. He feels like he's not viable and he feels like people kind of looks down on him because of that and they don't really see him as like a team player. But he only has himself to blame. But he also feels this way because he knows he's not a scientist like the professor and Quinn. And so he feels he's not smart enough to like, have kind of like Quinn's respect and everything. And that because of that, he thinks Quinn kind of like looks down on him. Now, he knows the professor looks down on him because the professor looks down on anybody who's not to his caliber of intelligence and stuff. And then Rembrandt also gets mad because when Quinn is the only person who knows that the professor is dying. The other two don't find out until he gets healed and stuff. This really upsets Rembrandt to the point where he literally confronts Quinn about it and tells him like, Like he's just pissed. He's upset at the fact that Quinn would not even tell him that the professor is dying. Like he doesn't understand why he would keep that secret from him, because it's no longer them as individuals. They are now a group. They are now a family, and he feels so hurt by this and stuff. And another time, Rembrandt is like really upset at Quinn is when it comes to Maggie Beckett. For the most part, Rembrandt doesn't hate or love Maggie. It's just like an in-between kind of thing. He sees her as there. He sees her as homeless. He sees her as a person who's grieving. So he deals with her, and also because she's human. But he doesn't like how she treats him and Wade and everybody else. And he doesn't like how she's always gunning for Rickman and putting their lives in danger. Like they literally had to dig up a grave for her, because she thought Rickman was inside that grave. And he's like, look, man, like, he's done a lot of stuff since sliding, but he ain't for grave robbing. But he had to do it anyway. Quinn dug the hole, but he made Maggie and Rembrandt fill it back up. And as they're doing that, boom, the cops show up. And he even told Quinn, since hanging out with him, he's been arrested more time than he ever was back on his world and stuff. Another time tensions between him and Quinn was like up in the air was when they was on this world where it oppresses young people. Basically, it's like this. Everybody is looking to be fit and healthy and stuff. And they constantly work out at the gym. They go under the knife. Now, if an older person who's rich has, say, like needs like a new liver or a kidney, they will literally take it out of a young person and give it to them. They don't care what the cost is. It's because they have kind of like you know how like back in the old days when you was 18, you had to join the military. It's kind of like that. And Quinn was just kind of like, oh, you know, man, different worlds, different cultures, different rules. And Rembrandt was just kind of like, how can you see it like this, man? Like, this is literally oppression and everything. Like, you know, because this is the same thing how it was like on our world when, you know, you had to be 18 and you were forced to join the military and you had to fight in wars that you didn't believe in. And also when it comes to things like slavery and stuff, because, you know, George Washington, you know how like back in the old days when you was in school and you was told that he had wooden teeth? That was not true. They didn't want people to know the truth that he literally had dentures, but they was real teeth. They were the teeth of slaves. He would literally have them ripped out their mouths, put on like some fake denture thing and put them in his mouth and everything. And so, you know, and Rembrandt, he sees that, but Quinn doesn't see it like that. So he doesn't understand who this man is he's been sliding with, that personality has completely changed. Now, things get really, really high to the point where I think, God, in that one episode when they first meet Maggie, I think Rembrandt punches Quinn, I believe. I can't really remember because it's been a while since I saw the episode. But it's like this. When Maggie and Quinn were searching for new worlds to put Maggie's people on, they end up, like I said before, going back to Earth Prime. Quinn tells them this. Everybody is ecstatic. They can't wait to go back home. And they're all like, well, you know, since their timer has now been remodified. Oh, by the way, they have a new timer. I need to get into that later on. So, like, yeah. Whew. My mouth is tired of talking. I've been talking for 7-8 minutes straight. So like with the whole Rembrandt thing, and also a little bit longer with everybody else. Whew. So anyway, Rembrandt and the others, they all like, yo, let's just go home now because these people timer, it works now, and they can gather their own people and slide off whenever it is time for them to slide, and we can just go home now. So we got the coordinates now. And he's all like, no, we have to like help these people out. And Wade literally tells him straight up, you mean help these people or help Maggie? Because they see he's liking Maggie. And so basically the other two kind of like give us a timer now so we can slide. And he wouldn't do that. And I think Rembrandt ends up punching him, which causes the professor to break it up. And then Rembrandt literally tells him, man, you are selfish and everything. We are in this mess because of you. You put us in this peril. And, the longer we stay on this world, something bad could happen to us because those pole stars are coming. And now we have a chance to get back home. And you aren't like letting us and stuff. And so Rembrandt was totally 100% right. And I understand why he punched him. I understand why Wade was upset with him. And it's like, Rembrandt was totally justified in that, man. No matter how many times Rembrandt went off and did his own thing, you can't help but to admit that they are all in this mess because of Quinn and everything. And now he has a chance to save them, and he doesn't. And as a result, the professor ends up getting shot. And also there's tension flying between him and... Oh, wait, before I get into Professor and Rembrandt gets pissed off at Quinn again, him and Wade. See, when they was on a world, Maggie got infected with the symbiote. And it turned her like completely evil, and she would kind of breed with everybody and repopulate that world and all kinds of stuff like that. Think of Venom, Spider-Man. Think of it like that. And so, like, when they was trying to get it out of her, they had to like lower the temperature and stuff. And so they able to save her. But then the doctor gets infected, and the doctor lady, the scientist lady, she's not a good woman at all. And so she gets infected with the symbiote, and it's time for them to slide. Quinn doing his superhero thing, he wants to save the doctor scientist lady, even though she literally tried to have their organs harvested and everything. And Rembrandt's all like, look, man, we gotta slide, we gotta get up out of here. And Quinn's like, we have to save this woman. And Rembrandt just lays down the law and tells Quinn how it is, and it is literally time for them to go, and that's that. And so Quinn slides without the scientist lady. And of course, she wakes up and she starts like reinfecting the world and stuff. But before that happened, Wade and Rembrandt was having a discussion. What's going to happen if they can't get the symbiont out of Maggie before it's time to slide? They voted to slide without Maggie. And Quinn's all like, how can we do this? Because she's in this mess because of us. And they told her, like, look, man, she came with us and started sliding because she wanted to kill Rickman. We didn't tell her to come with us. And because we've known you for 3 years, we rank higher than her when it comes to your friendship level. And Quinn literally can't see past his shillelagh and everything. And so it's like, that just causes so much tension between him and Rembrandt. Now, when it comes to the professor and Rembrandt, like I said before, they're going through the motions. They're basically getting tired of each other. They're tired of constantly hanging out with one another. They're constantly having to run for their lives. They're tired of having to wake up next to each other. And their frustrations is boiling over and stuff. It's to the point where when Wade was like being attacked by these nerdy dudes who enter her dreams, yeah, people can enter dreams now. So it's like Rembrandt fell asleep because he got drugged, and then the professor was all pissed off at him. And the professor is just like laying in thick into like Rembrandt and stuff, and it wasn't even his fault. Now, there's a lot of character development for Wade. Finally, Wade gets something to do in this season. In the last season, she really couldn't do much, but now she finally gets to do stuff. But she is still the damsel in distress. She's always getting kidnapped and having to be saved. But at least this time she gets to do more. She's using her computer skills for the first time on this show. Like, we knew she had computer skills, but they never really showed that in no other season. Now they're constantly showing it to us. Also with her, we get to see that she has a spiritual side. She loves magic and all that stuff, which is a play on of Sabrina Lloyd's name from Sabrina Teenage Witch. Also, she's more adamant this season. She's more confident. She's more like blunt at times. She's more willing to like fight whatever baddie she has to fight, lock and load with a gun, like whatever it takes. Which I gotta say, every time she holds a rifle in her hand, it's the most awkward looking thing ever. It just is. I get they want her to be more action packed, but it's kind of like show this woman some skill. Like, show her how to stand up and hold a rifle. Like, just watch a movie in the 80s and see how you hold it. Because she looks so awkward every time she has to hold one. And the same thing with the handgun in season 2. Like, when her character was the double and she was evil, she held it so weird and everything. But yeah, they giving her way more to do, which is so good. I was so thankful for that. But this season also changed her appearance. They gave her a new hairstyle. They cut it a certain different length. They dyed her hair a reddish brown. They put gobs of makeup on her face, and they put this bright red lipstick on her. Now, anybody who knows Wade from the other 2 seasons, this is not Wade. Wade is literally like the girl next door, and she's casual, you know? But now they're trying to get her looking like a supermodel kind of look. And they're constantly putting her in short skirts and short shorts. Same thing with Maggie and everything. But when it comes to her, like, her thing this season, we find out in that one episode that one day I will get into my most hated episode, is where, because there's one episode in season 3 I just can't. Like, when it comes to season 3, with all the monsters and the horror movie monster stuff, if you just like take that equation out the episode, it's an enjoyable episode. But there's this one movie monster type thing I just can't stomach. And so in that episode, she reveals to Rembrandt she wants to have a child one day. She doesn't know when, but she wants to fulfill her life and have kids, you know? And because she slides, that's going to be impossible. So it's like, so that's kind of like a cool revelation that we never knew of her, because she never mentioned that in the other 2 seasons. And then sadly, when she does end up leaving the show, she gets captured by the Cro-Mags. And well, she has all the babies she can want because she's in a breeding camp. And I think they did that just to put salt in the actress' wounds, you know? They're like, oh, you don't want to be on the show no more? Oh, so you quit, whatever. So we're going to make your character suffer because of that. But yeah, like I said before, in this season, even though she has more to do, she is still the damsel in distress. But she is more mouthy this season, especially when she had to go up against Maggie, which she is always paired with for the most part. Like, especially in that snake episode, she literally had, like, it makes me wonder if it's been reported that Kari literally made Sabrina cry towards the end of the season. Because I think what it was, Sabrina was dating, like, one of the crew members. And the crew member is somebody who does, like, you know, makeup or the camera work, or click the little the board saying cut and stuff like that, you know, a member of the crew, somebody like that. And Kari's kind of like, why are you dating somebody who's below you? You're an actress, and blah blah blah, stuff like that. And they got into it, and supposedly Sabrina just went into her dressing room, her trailer dressing room, and just cried for nearly like an entire day, supposedly. And it delayed shooting for one episode for nearly the entire day. So yeah. So to think she had to be with Kari for that entire episode, boy, there is no telling what got said. And so I think now they patched things up. I have no idea, but I think I read somewhere that they patched things up, so that's good. And also when it comes to Kari, it's like I did in that one video, she really has changed from who she used to be from back in the day. She's really like becoming like a wife and like a mother. I think it really changed her for the better and stuff, from what you see like on Instagram and stuff like that. Well, she doesn't post that much, but you know, she's a wife now, so you know. Anyway, but yeah, so Wade finally gets to do some stuff this season, and like I'm just so thrilled for her and stuff. Like there's literally times where Quinn's all like, look, if you can't handle, because I think it was something about like, what was it? I think it was like that dinosaur episode. There's a second dinosaur episode, and they are trying to kill it and blow it up. And I think, no, that wasn't that episode. But yeah, she does help out and kill the dinosaur and stuff. Like when they throw the explosive, she's with the rifle, and they're like, her and Maggie are like shooting like crazy, trying to like make the explosions like explode. But in the one episode, Paradise Lost, with the giant slug thing, they had to go in a cave and look for the giant slug and try to kill it. And so Quinn literally tells her, if you can't handle this, I'll do it. And she's like, no, I can handle it, Quinn. And he's like, are you sure? Because he knows she's not that tough. And she's like, look, I got this, And there's another episode where, in that same episode, actually, earlier, when she was kidnapped. And instead of waiting for everybody else to save her, she's able to free herself. She's able to knock out her captive, use the shards of glass to cut her rope, and run out the house. But he captures her after that. And then that's when she, of course, is saved by the men once again. But she's a lot tougher now, And she even punches people now, so that's great. The professor. The bad professor is in this season because the good one is still on the other world from season 2. Now, the bad professor. He's still the professor. He's still saving worlds and everything like that. He's still the hero of the show. But he's only there for the he's only there for the first half of the 3rd season before he ended up dying. In this season, the professor has completely changed because it's been shown early on he is dying. And he's dying of a disease. A disease that's never been mentioned. It doesn't even say what the disease is, but there's no cure for it. So throughout the entire the entire season, he's kind of just having a midlife crisis. He's acting like a young kid again, especially in that one episode where Quinn finds his younger self. And he's just bungee jumping. He's driving like expensive cars. Like, he's just living his life for like probably the first time in like a long time. But he's doing things that are very unprofessor-like that we know him to be. Now, he does have his professor type episodes when he's on this one world, and his frustration is really up high. Everything's going bad for him on the last world. He's on this new world, and every time somebody would just like look at him wrong, he would just shout at them. Somebody spills coffee on him, and he just berates that person, and he goes outside to cool off. Well, on that world, it's like a business type world. Everybody dressed in business suits. Everybody doesn't get to have no fun. Or you want to have fun, you have to go to an amusement park, an old timey type park, and pretend to be like characters for whatever era of time that is. And then they end up brainwashing some people, like him. They brainwash him into thinking he's kind of like Sherlock Holmes. And so the entire episode, he thinks he's Sherlock Holmes, but there's a real killer at the theme park type thing, and they have to find out who it is because that person wants to kill Wade and stuff. But when his midlife crisis is over, when he goes to a world that has like magic water or some crap like that, like it's literally magic water, and it's one of the strangest episodes ever. Like it could have been cool, but they messed up just a tiny bit. And so when they scallywag like that, I don't appreciate that. But yeah, he's there with the magic water, and like it heals him and stuff like that. And so pretty much when it does come towards the end, when he does have to die, it's a really touching scene because him and Maggie, they don't have really no scenes together except for one when they first interact. And when everybody else is scolding Quinn for, wanting to think about Maggie and not about them getting back home, he actually calms people down. He's not arguing with Quinn whatsoever. And it's really interesting because, of course, this is the bad professor. He's finally now going to get to go to their world and become famous and stuff. So you think he would really want to go there, but he sees how badly they're dumping on Quinn, and he decides he's not going to chime in, And that's because him and Quinn are like very close and stuff. But for the most part, the professor is still the professor. He's still grumpy, but less grumpy. He's still saving the world. But like I said before, he is having a midlife crisis in this season. Now, as for Quinn, I pretty much stated about Quinn when I stated about the other people. But basically, Quinn, And also my Spider-Man Superman video, you can watch that. Quinn this season is not thinking with his head whatsoever. He's thinking with his fists mainly. Unless it comes to Maggie, then he's thinking with something else. His shillelagh and everything. And that's my way of saying a dick. But you know how YouTube guidelines are. You're not allowed to say certain things. So I try to like use innuendos. And if you don't know what a shillelagh is, look it up. Type in Google WWE Finley. He's a wrestler and he has a certain weapon he fights with. A shillelagh is a weapon. It's an Irish weapon, but the weapon is basically it's like a club, but the club looks like two round things and a shaft. So like, yeah, Quinn is basically just thinking with his fist. Everywhere he goes on now, if he sees somebody is hurt or being hurt, he jumps in and tries to be the hero. He starts fighting people at random now. And it's getting to the point where it's gonna cause him some trouble. And it ends up doing a little bit on one episode, kinda. And there's one episode that's a very weird episode. I can't wait until I go to episodes of season 3 I hate, because there are just some episodes that are just flat out bad. But basically, on this world, it's Quinn double. He's like a criminal, and Quinn ends up taking the fall for him by mistake. And because I think he kind of rushed into a situation, and so they realized who he was. And then when they take him to the court system, it's not like a reality show. It's kind of like a game show type, not even a game show. It's kind of like a talk show type thing. But no matter what, you're gonna be guilty no matter what. And it's just one of those weird episodes. One of those weird episodes where the cops are not dressing like cops. It's a stupid episode. God, I don't even feel like explaining it right now. But basically, Quinn screwed up. And so, yeah, it's just that's how it is throughout the entire first half of the season before Maggie shows up. He'll see somebody in distress. He runs in to go fight that person. And then he basically he even wearing a leather jacket to show how bad he is. I mean, the dude thinks he's a tough guy now. And then there is one really touching episode where he meets his younger double, and it's reliving the events that happened in his life when he was bullied as a kid and when he broke this kid's knees with a baseball bat. He is teaching this kid how to fight and everything. The other sliders don't understand why, because Quinn has become very shut down in that episode. He will not explain his actions whatsoever. He won't even explain to us, the audience. All we see is that Quinn is reliving some tragic time in his life, and we see him literally trying to teach his double how to fight, but we don't know why he's teaching his double how to fight. It is never explained until towards the end when we see his double literally whoop the crap out of this bully. And it turns out that on Quinn's world, he got so scared when these kids used to beat him up that he would walk home with a baseball bat. And one day, one of them kids still challenged him, even though he had a baseball bat, and he literally took that dude's knees out and everything, to where that dude has problems even as an adult. So Quinn was trying to teach his double, if you use a weapon on somebody, you can end up messing that person up really bad. So he was trying to teach that dude how to fight. And so he literally tells that to the rest of the sliders and stuff. And it was like a really touching episode and one of Jerry's like best performances, because he got to show some real strong emotion when the professor, because like he literally saw, I think, his double getting like attacked by the bullies, and he wanted to stop it, but the professor would not let him, and he had to hold him back or something like that. It was something where the Quinn wanted to like intervene somehow, and the professor would not let him intervene, and the professor literally had to hold him back, and you just see Quinn basically just wants to cry, but you see no tears come out. It's more like an angry kind of cry and stuff. I think it would have been even more emotional if you would have saw tears, but hey, you know, this show didn't want to show that much emotion because it was all action-packed. And then, of course, when Maggie shows up, it's all for Maggie. Like, all he does is think about, hey, we gotta save Maggie. You know, we gotta make sure Maggie's okay. And then all this other stuff. And then there's the whole Rickman thing. And so, like, so he out of all the characters, he changes the extreme most. But instead of evolving, he's downgraded. Like he de-evolved. He regressed, and it made him into a very unlikable character. Thank God for the fourth season. Now, let me get into the timer before I go into some episodes. The timer, it changes this season. First, the original timer. Um, Logan switched a component out of theirs to where they're able to travel a lot farther now. Why? Because in the third season, they no longer film in Canada. They now film in LA. So they needed things to look more like LA, so they just said, hey, the timer can go from San Francisco to LA. Also, the thing of doubles. Oh no, I'll get to that later. Sorry, my bad. So timer. So then that changes then. Then they own an Egyptian world where Quinn ends up getting captured and experimented on. They literally kill the dude and see if he can get resurrected. And so when the other slides, they see him on the deathbed, they assume he is dead. But then as they're about to slide, I think somebody told them something that the experiment, there's a possibility he might still be alive. You know what I'm saying? After they saw him on his deathbed. But somebody told them, they're working on a new experiment the way they can resurrect people from the dead after they've been dead for like a few minutes and stuff. And so there's a possibility Quinn might still be alive. The portal has been already activated. They're debating if they should go or not. And they make their decision. They're going to stay on that world and see if Quinn is still alive. And so as we all know, when you miss your time window, the numbers now count up to 30 years, or 29 years, I should say. And so they're screwed. They're now stuck on the world. And not only that, but they're trapped inside a pyramid. And they're trapped with this giant, okay, the giant beetle. It's either a robotic beetle or it's like a genetically modified beetle. I can't remember which one. But yeah, they're trapped there. And they don't know if Quinn is still alive or not. But then they later find him towards the end of the episode, and he has a new timer with him. How? Because the people who built the pyramid, they were gonna seal it up like they did. That's how they got trapped inside. And they're supposed to transverse like a different world, a plane of existence. But really what they were gonna do was slide on out of there. So Quinn takes that slider, that timer, and he shows it to the new people. And it's a new design. It's sleek. It's nice. It's more like a remote control. And I love it. But here's the problem. It's not ready for them to slide on their new timer. So once again, they have to activate it before the thing counts down to 0, corrupting the data and this and that. Which doesn't really matter because corrupting the data on that world and losing the home coordinates doesn't really matter because it's not their world, it's the Egyptian world. So why would they want to keep sliding back there knowing these people are crazy and want to kill them? And then the timer changes once again when we get to Maggie world to now where they're able to not only track Rickman's timer, but they now can input coordinates to go wherever they want now. That's a nice little touch, something the old timer could never really do. Man, I'm tired of talking. Okay, I'm gonna run through these episodes type thing like really fast. I'm not gonna do like a complete like review because I reviewed most of them. Like most of these episodes, like the horror episodes, I reviewed for like my Halloween special, and I also reviewed the Christmas episode too. So if you want to see that, you can go there. But basically, these episodes are more horror based and more action packed based. Deadly Games is like a deadly reality show. Think of Hunger Games. There are tons of horror episodes, and I mean tons of them in this season. That make no sense. There's now, I mean, I guess if you go to a different world, different realities, there's a possibility of the supernatural, but it just doesn't make no sense because the other seasons weren't like that. I mean, you literally have, like I said, go to my Halloween episode video, and I will literally review all the like Halloweenish type episodes. There's a zombie episode. There are vampire episodes. There is a slasher type episode, like the one where the professor gets brainwashed and he's like a Sherlock Holmes type person. Um, what else? What else? What else? Oh, there's like a 13 on Elm Street type episode where these nerds invade people's dreams and kill them and stuff. And it's just the most wacky, tacky, like out of the ball, like jump the shark type stuff. Because it's just kind of like, where is this crap coming from? Why are they going the movie route? Heck, there's even like an anaconda type episode or like a snakes on the plane type episode involving snakes. And these snakes are supposed to have like a higher intelligence, but you really can't see it. But there's like snakes everywhere. And what's interesting about that is that both Kari and John were both in two different Anaconda movies. Kari was in the first, and John was in one the DVD direct to DVD direct to DVD episode movies and stuff. There's even an Island of Dr. Monroe type episode, the finale. And what's crazy is that the dude who was in that movie gets to play in this episode. And I think his name is Michael York, I believe it is. That's I can kind of stomach that episode a little bit more because it's more like science, it's more like sci-fi. So at least it's not supernatural. But it'll be nice to be able to explain just how exactly he was able to alter the DNA of humans and turn them into animal people, you know. But that's the episode where Rickman dies, and it's also the episode where Quinn, once again, thinking with his shillelagh, he sees Maggie is in danger from Rickman. This is before Rickman dies. And the beast people are coming to attack all the sliders. Rickman's joined them. He's a beast man now. And it's time for them to slide. They have Rickman's timer. They can now finally go back home. So he opens the portal. But here comes Rickman and the beast people. So he pushes Wade and Rembrandt into the vortex. And I'm not even sure if he gave them Rickman's timer or not, because it's not really shown. And then he literally fights off the beast people with Maggie, but the gun thing doesn't work. And then, you know, Rickman jumps over Maggie and Quinn, and he falls over the cliffside and dies supposedly and stuff. I mean, with a fall like that, he had to die. So then after that, Quinn's all like, okay, we can track Rickman's timer and follow the other sliders back to Earth Prime. And Maggie's all like, look, I can't breathe in your world. And he's like, I don't care. I'm not going to like leave you. And he's like, we're in this together, Maggie. And the dude is literally just not thinking, like he's in love. So they slide. And when they slide, they realize, hey, they're on a different world. Why didn't it track the other timer? And it's because the timer got damaged in the fight and stuff. So then it ends like that. And then next season was the biggest shocker of them all. There's an interesting like Twister type episode that's of course based off the movie Twister. And so like it's like this atomic electrical twister. So it's like a tornado with electricity all in it and lightning and stuff. And it's an interesting odd episode. It's like a man-made twister from a dude who is kind of like living in a cult type thing, like a settlement, and he brainwashes everybody, and basically it's his way or the highway, or basically it's his way or you get drowned. Because Wade found that out. There's an episode where like this slug like mutates and everything, and when it oozes around town, because it doesn't really go around, like it travels underground, and sometimes it'll come up to like eat people and stuff. But the ooze that it leaves behind, it gives people the ability to like regenerate their cells. So basically these people are not necessarily immortal because they can't die. It's just they never age. And so it's like it's not in the entire earth. It's just this one little town. And so because the people, not everybody eats that stuff. Like they have to eat it in order to stay young. But not everybody eats it, only a select few. So it's kind of like, why don't the townspeople, gee, I don't know, stop these people? like literally put an end to these people because they're not immortal, and then just blow the slug up. It took the sliders in order to do that. It's an interesting episode, but it's just a weird kind of episode. And I think it was based off the movie Tremors, I believe, and stuff. There's like a strange fog movie, which I'm gonna assume is based off the movie called The Fog. I've never seen the movie The Fog, but I'm just gonna assume it's based off that. They even have a term called foggins. And I'm just like, God, Lord have mercy. Like, what are they doing in this season? Did I mention there's a vampire episode? Well, there's a vampire episode. Now, I've already reviewed that in my Halloween video, so just go check that one out. There's a dragon episode. Yeah, we got dragons now. They went Game of Thrones on us. But it's like a weird druid, like magical episode, and it's just strange. I like magic stuff, but it's just strange in this show. There's an episode where, like, I guess, like, all of civilization is now underground because of these earthquakes, and there's like a top layer of earth, and that's where people rebuilt their homes and stuff. And it's kind of like there are these people that are just regular people, and then they've been trapped underground, and somehow their skin mutated, and now they just live on the ground, and when they go to the surface world, they eat people. And there's like this plant where it scratches the professor and Rembrandt's arm, and it breaks out in these strange prickly hives and stuff. And then they have this food that the engineers, which are technically engineers, made, where like it's like these giant round discs that looks like fruit, and when you bite into it, whatever you're thinking about, that's what the food tastes like. And it's just like, couldn't they explain all this with science instead of just like hokey magic crap? Now, there is one episode I did review a long time ago about I think it was like the Valentine's Day video I made where Rembrandt ends up pregnant. There's a strange like android episode where Wade ends up like crushing on the android, and it turns out all the humans are gone off this world and there's nothing but androids, and the creator, he doesn't even know he's an android, and all he wants is androids, but he thinks he's human. And he wants to literally just like replace everybody with androids, but then finds out that he's one himself, and it doesn't make no sense. Now, the concept of doubles is still in this season, but it's not really as much as you normally think it was. We rarely get to see the doubles of the actual sliders. It's just like a few episodes we see them in, and that's really just about it. There really aren't that many recurring characters, no Benish. We do have a new dude named Diggs. He's kind of like the town gossip. He shows up in almost every episode. That's really it for like doubles, really, to tell you the truth. The show moved over to sci-fi. 3 months have passed from season 3 to season 4. Wade is no longer there. The Chromads have taken over. Rembrandt is in prison. Quinn finds out he has a brother, and Maggie actually turns nice. So yeah, that was my rundown of season 3. Season 4 will be coming. I will not review season 5 again. I don't even know if I probably won't even watch it. I thought about watching it just for curiosity's sake, but I can't do that no more. See, I realize I am allergic to bad TV writing and bad movie writing. I just can't do it. I don't want to sneeze and cough all day long. So, because I am now allergic to terrible writing, I have decided not to review season 5 no more. All right. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.